Thursday, the 16th of September, and I'm calling the meeting of the Finance Committee to order. First thing on the agenda is the meeting minutes of July 22nd.
Was I present there? Can I vote on this?
I do not believe you were present.
No, I don't think Alex did.
No. There was only, so I need a motion.
I don't think I was there either. Was I there?
Nope, I think you were on vacation.
I think it was just me, Lynn.
Tom, Darren, and I were absent.
Yeah, I was gonna say that, yeah, so.
Ted,
Okay,
Peter, Lynn.
I'll second the motion. Accepted?
Yeah.
Accepted. Okay, we're,
Pete, are you okay with that?
Was that to me?
Yes, are you all set with the minutes?
I am, yes.
Okay.
okay, perfect.
Thank you.
All right, guys, so discussion on the budget issues. I just wanted to bring you up to speed on a couple of things that have landed in my lap. We have some public safety building repairs that have had to been done that were not budgeted for. As of right now, they're not looking for any money, but wanted to let us know because in the spring, they'll probably be short. We had a compressor for the HVAC unit for $37.25 and sprinkler system for $19.02. Is that the HVAC unit that we replace something on every year?
I'm not sure if that's the same one, Ken.
Okay.
There's several of them. There's some down below
Okay.
and there's some up top.
Okay.
I'm not.
So just want to let you know, I will send you this email. It just tells you what it is. It's just for our edification going forward. He also told me that there was a 70% increase during the period in their trash. And of course, that is not something,
It's a big increase.
yeah, from a period of September 00 to September 01, with the most recent increase in 1 month of 22% of the last billing. So of course, that was not budgeted. Yes.
So you say that's an increase, is that an increase in the amount of trash or increase in the
fees.
fee charged?
In the expenses.
So isn't this under contract? I thought this was a contract they had.
Is it a dumpster pickup
Yep.
by weight of the dumpster?
No, they, Republic Services went up on pretty much everyone in town. I know that because we had them until they went up, and so we now migrated to somebody else. But so they went up, and I don't know. I'm with you. Are we under contract? Why didn't we reach out to them? I can't answer those questions. All I can say is that there's 22% of the last billing has gone up, and the increase is going to impact the public safety building as well as the library and DPW trash lines.
Well, I would say that we gotta have somebody that either does the contract or handles that for the town to answer some questions for us there and what's going on.
Well, they, after this went out, Ron did ask Seth to put together some stuff to put out an RFP. So let's see what happens. So,
Wouldn't that be Ron's job?
I was gonna ask that.
there is that potential, yes, but I think there was some stuff for an RFP.
But I guess what I'm getting, you saying he's gonna do it for an RFP, is that what you just said now? But that's for future stuff. There must be a contract that's existence.
I am assuming that there isn't one if they're going up that much. So I'm assuming we must
But
be.
there has been, they've told us before that's under contract because they contract for all the different town
So the, so
trash
then,
service. That's what I'm saying, there's questions that gotta be answered here.
right, so, I mean, I
can't believe there's not some kind of a contract right now. I don't think that's correct. That's my opinion, but.
I'll definitely reach out and try to find out. Ultimately, that's what I got, and I was like, okay, I didn't want to.
Unless it renewed like July 1st, Tommy, and nobody caught it and they just put it out.
Well, then somebody better answer those questions then too.
Well, that's even
That's
worse.
sneaky.
That's worse, and that's what I said. I said, that's even worse if no one did it, so
I mean,
yeah.
I have a dumpster at work with no contract. I'm on a month to month.
Right.
You're talking private versus town.
Right, but even if it's, it might be one of those things where the contract has expired, now we're on the month to month, and no one thought to re-up it. I don't know, but I can ask them.
Can we
And
have,
okay,
I'm sorry, go ahead.
I guess I'm wondering why, the same thing that you're wondering, Lynn, is why the town administrator hasn't taken care of that. It's kind of in his purview,
Can we ask for a list of all the contracts and the dates?
and status.
We can, we can ask for all of that. I have been attending the,
Well, when you say we look, what kind of contracts are we talking
Well,
about?
if there's any contract, I mean, if you're looking at trash or.
Oh, there's dozens and dozens of
But
contracts.
we
What-
should-
I guess what do we wanna look at those for right now? I mean, I don't understand why we're gonna make work for somebody to come up with all these contracts that we don't have an issue with.
we
right now.
should,
Just a list.
just a list that we know that trash service is got until, August of
Well, I
2022.
agree with what Darren just said, that's not, I don't think that's our job to look at, that's just the town administrator's job.
I agree, but when we're trying to be this.
So why don't we just ask him to look at that and make sure it's up to date? I mean, if there's a problem or a concern, or there's something that we have to review as far as a monetary thing, then we should ask those questions for that thing right then, but
Right.
I think, my point is to do that right now is the job of the town administrator.
Okay, I have been attending the select board meetings, and the select board would like to meet with us, have a joint meeting together, to go over the expenses for the first 2 months, to try to be more proactive rather than reactive. And it will require us to, it's not going to be easy. They cannot print out a detailed expense budget. If we have any questions on a certain line item, we have to actually go physically to the warrant article and look. And each week, each selectmen's meeting, there's a envelope like this, none of it's electronic. I've asked the question 4 times.
So but the expense report that we've seen, it lists invoice paid to XYZ, it doesn't tell what it's for, that's what you're saying.
Exactly, and it
Correct,
doesn't,
And it
yeah.
never has, I mean, that's the way
Right.
it's always been.
Exactly, so if we have a
Correct,
question,
if you
we
want to
have
know
to look-
exactly what that invoice is for
Right.
and what was on it,
And why
you have
is
to
it,
go to
you
the
know,
paper
why is it
copies.
different that, exactly, we have to
Correct.
actually go to the physical paper
Correct.
copies.
Too bad you can't just drill down.
Right, so that is not something that they have available.
Is that something, I am not an accountant, I don't claim to be one, I know several at this table. Are you guys, isn't that something the town should do for efficiency wise, to have something like that, that we can do this? I mean, we gotta be one of the last bastions on earth that are doing paper, right? Besides Joe's hardware store down in East Puckerbrush, so I can't imagine that they should be able to. I would think that with all the money we spent on different things, you know, computers and software and things like that, we would be at a point now that we would be in a better spot. And I guess I'm kind of,
There has to be an accounting system
I
in
would
place, but
think.
I'm guessing it just can't go into that much detail.
It doesn't.
Yeah.
It just says,
Which is not uncommon.
I mean, people send paper invoices.
Yeah.
right, but
So the invoice is processed and paid, and it lists there, date, whatever,
Yeah.
blah, blah, ABC, company for whatever the category is in the amount.
So I guess where I'm going with this, for a joint meeting with the selectmen to go over the first couple months of the budgeting for this year, it's gonna be very cumbersome for us. If
Yes.
you have a question on X,
Correct.
it's gonna be like a lot of work to get to why that X is.
Unless
So
you
I'm
have
just-
the department
Right.
person there that's paid the invoice, they
Well,
should be able to answer it.
well, we'd have to go to the invoice to look to see if we had any continued questions, and that's where there's a lot of paper to go through. There is a
Okay.
lot of paper.
That's not abnormal. Like,
Okay.
you'd see a invoice in the system that just said like services rendered for X period of date, and
Right.
the invoice would have more details on what those services might actually be.
As long as
Depends
you
on
guys-
who's entering the
Yeah.
information in the
Okay.
system.
All right.
So, Tommy, take a deep breath.
Well,
You're gonna need a deep breath for this
okay,
one.
but I was going back to this one thing for a second.
Yep.
This is an example of what Alex just said too. The detail on there, you're not gonna have invoice to ABC Paper Company, and then you're gonna have, somebody's gonna sit there and list, well, we bought 2 cases of toilet paper, we bought 2 cases of paper towel. No, you're not gonna enter all the information in the computer, because 98%, 99% of the time, you don't even wanna look at that. You know it's for supplies, that's what they bought. So there's nobody that lists that detail in those expense reports.
Yeah, at my company, we put them on purchase orders so I can drill down and I can see that we bought this, and this.
Well, that's
can see
Who
it.
enters that?
It's either,
It's on the PO, it's on the PO.
Pete's raising his hand.
Okay, go ahead, Pete.
No, I guess I agree with Tommy, but I think that we may be talking about the discussion about the bylaws. I mean, what is the role of the FinCom?
Yeah, that's coming up next.
No, I understand that.
Yeah.
I'm just suggesting that this conversation is leading into the next conversation.
Okay.
Did we go through whole business? Because I have one question. You were looking at one time, Karen, you were trying to get meeting notes back. Did that ever happen?
I guess some of them have been available now online for the bylaw subcommittee. I have not had a chance to look because
Okay, so but they're all out now?
they're not all out, but there's more of them have been coming out.
Okay.
So yes.
Yeah, what things are you talking about?
Well, the bylaw subcommittee had a bunch of meetings and they never had to report about what they all did, right?
I got you, okay.
Yeah, they had voice recordings that no one could access.
Well, I remember that, well, I think,
And that's where I'm going with this.
Right.
Yeah.
So let's,
I mean, I don't know, I guess some of the question might be in the state law, does it say that a voice recording is an acceptable public record for the long term, or does it have to be written so somebody can read it?
The select board did debate that, and I can't remember exactly what they said.
Oh, okay.
So they did debate that because you're supposed to be able to keep it for eternity and put it in a binder so that in 100 years somebody can look up and see. So
Right.
you
It's
can't do-
history.
Right,
It's
exactly.
history.
Exactly. So, another item that was brought to my attention.
But you're right here, yeah.
Another one that was brought to my attention is there was a problem with the pool house. They had to do a CCTV inspection because all of the conventional plumbing techniques were not producing results. The fee for the CCTV inspection was $615.32. And this will be paid through sewer operations purchase services.
why?
Yeah.
That's why I told you to take a deep breath, because I'm not on water
Okay,
and sewer.
I have a question though first.
Yeah.
Is the pool house you're referring to the snack shack and the bathrooms?
Yes.
See, when you say pool house, it always used to be the pump house on the side.
Yeah, the
Like
pump
one
house that's
person, the
underneath.
pump gusset.
That's,
Yeah.
yeah,
Off
no,
to
no,
the
this
side.
is,
Okay, it's the
yeah.
other building,
Yeah.
okay. The
So-
building that's sinking.
Huh?
You-
Well, I heard from somebody that it's sinking. That's why
So-
the bathrooms weren't working.
So, hold on,
Okay,
hold on.
do we have seatbelts? Yeah.
We're gonna need them. So $615.32 is now gonna be taken out of sewer operations. It will then, they got a estimate to how much it will cost to repair it. It will cost $24,350 to repair this. And that is with, I need my glasses to make sure I read this appropriately. And the $24,350 is because DPW staff will do all the excavation and concrete work.
So that's less than what it should have been?
Yes, this would have been significantly higher. So I just wanted to bring that to your attention. I will send you this information. The 3 containers behind the town hall, the gray containers that everyone can see if you drive down that road. 3 containers were purchased from CARES Act funds. Board of Health has one, Recreation has one, and the third houses tents bought by CARES Act. think that was everything. Oh, I'm still working on for our meeting for the special town meeting, getting us an Excel spreadsheet of non-contracted employees who did not receive a raise. So if it's in an Excel spreadsheet, we can then calculate what the 2% would be. We can calculate what the 3% would be if it should be 2.8, if, you know, whatever it's gonna be when we find out what free cash is. So, that's that pile. Any questions on that pile? I will send you guys all these emails.
So, you're just making us made aware of it?
Yes.
And they're just gonna do it?
No, because in order to spend that kind of money, it has to go through CIPC, and then it will have to be spent with, there'll have to be a warrant article on the special town meeting,
Okay.
depending upon what free cash we have. Which brings me to the next thing, which
Just
was,
a bearer of good news tonight, aren't you?
So that 24,000 is just to fix plumbing that was done incorrectly? Is that what I understand?
that isn't working. Whether it was done correctly or incorrectly, it's neither here nor there, it's just not working.
I think like.
It's there, it's
Tommy
definitely there.
Tommy led into where it was going. I think
The
that
concern
it
is,
sunk Alex a little
is
bit.
that when we did the budget this year, we had significant cuts to that DPW department. And that we put out statements saying that, you know, there wouldn't be this, there wouldn't be that, there wouldn't be this, there wouldn't be that, because there wouldn't be labor for it. So how is there labor? My question was, how is there labor to do this? Because this is pretty significant work as far as I would think.
If they're spending their time fixing the plumbing issues for the pool, they can't be doing other things for the town they should be doing.
Right,
That's all unbudgeted, right? The 24?
that is correct.
Yeah, but their budget cuts has nothing to do with the problems at the pool house.
That is correct, but we, as part of our budget cuts, and when we sent it out, it was, now we, you know, if swings were broken, they would be tied up
they-
and
they
not
did
done.
have less of
We
time
would-
availability,
Right, exactly,
sure.
so.
Sure.
Again, this sounds to me like it's not something that's going to be a quick fix. I would think that excavation and putting in concrete, that takes more than a few hours. I could be wrong, but I don't think so.
That's how deep it's sinking.
I received an email this morning. Anita is asking when the fall special town meeting will be held. It was brought up at last week's select board meeting. They were thinking they'd have it in early November. And yes, Negative Nellie here raised her hand and said, let's not push it, guys. We pushed it last year and we had to cancel the meeting and we didn't have it until the beginning of December. So let's not put the cart before the horse. So there is no answer as to when we're gonna have free cash. No one will give that answer. They're gonna ask again on Monday to Dan, but I just wanna let you know. So,
Can I see the thing about the plumbing for a minute?
yes, you can.
Just for a second.
Here, it's in this pile.
Thank you.
And you will all receive it.
Okay.
I ran out of time to get it all done, so I apologize, but you will get it after tonight. Any other questions? Any other issues? Any other remaining things before we jump into the next pile of stuff?
I'm gonna make just a statement
Sure.
in reference to CARES Act money. I know it's quote unquote free money, but it doesn't mean we have to spend it recklessly. And buying containers that are gonna be an eyesore for the rest of Tamika's life up there is ridiculous. And we're gonna have to pay to move them, we're gonna have to pay to paint them. I just don't know why we're buying more stuff to store extra junk that ultimately everybody paid for, and we're just spending it to spend it. And I guess it's disappointing to me, that's all, I'm just gonna make that statement. We just buy junk, and it's just gonna be there forever.
Go ahead, Tommy.
Under that money that's coming to the town, is there any stipulations or rules and regulations that are attached to it that say how
Yes,
it needs to be spent and blah,
Yes.
blah, blah, whatever?
yes. That's the CARES Act is finished, and now it's the American Rescue Act money. And yes, there's very specific, very specific.
And who, the town manager, I mean, the town administrator must have that access to that information?
Yes, but you can also look it up online. It's a lot of water and sewer infrastructure. There's some stuff for like upgrading our,
Cable TV.
well, yep, because that's broadband infrastructure. They authorize that to be spent, so they're gonna be spending money to bring in fiber in for the town buildings.
Okay, I guess what I'm leading up to is, when you apply for a grant or when you ask for money for something, usually the grant is very detailed, at least from my experience, doing numerous grants. The information is detailed and says, for this money that we're asking for, we're gonna do this, 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 and this, whatever. So that goes in, the grant goes back, and I think we voted town meeting that they can spend the money for the grants that come in or that are received based on their plan. This money comes in and it's not detailed before you get the money, there's just X amount of dollars comes, and now they decide how to spend it. So shouldn't that be something that the finance board reviews?
We can get them. I know personally, I did ask to see them. So we can ask to see them.
I mean, I'm getting is just what, what Darren said too. I mean, I can understand a grant or something, as I just said, that's specific. I asked you for $100 to do 1, 2, 3, and I'm gonna do 1, 2, 3. There's nothing
Right.
different about that. But somebody just said, here's $100.
Yeah, the money.
I think it should be looked at by,
Right, the money was, they had to answer in certain buckets. There were certain, CARES Act had a lot more buckets that you could spend versus the American
Right.
Rescue Act. And we did have to justify it and submit it, and I don't know to whom we submitted it, but I know we had to submit stuff to justify it. But they were much broader categories.
I mean, obviously, when this money comes to the town, it's the taxpayers' money now.
It is, yes.
Well,
it's-
it is, because any money that comes to the
Right,
town is the
right,
taxpayers'
yes.
money.
Yep,
And
it's
the
federal
finance
funds.
board is supposed to review anything that the town spends on.
Would you like me to get what we
Well, I
spent
just-
on CARES Act?
I'm-
Just tell me if you want, I'll ask for it. I
I'm
don't
just
have-
asking the question, because I
Yeah.
think I agree with, I shouldn't say it, I agree with what Darren just said. I think there should be some kind of.
I would like to know what, I would like I guess some sort of what would you call it? One of you
Reconciliation.
guys, reconciliation of what we spent.
With the money, that's what it
Yeah,
is.
Okay, if you
We got
guys,
this much in,
you
what do we
guys help me
spend
out
it
with the
on?
technical terms, thank you.
I can definitely ask for
Report.
that.
Something, whatever you guys want.
Or we get to the point, not so much, we got this much in and what are we spending it on? We got this much in, what are you gonna spend it on? Because again, the point, from my understanding, my few years around, the finance committee is one of the groups that's supposed to review this so that if the town goes to spend $50,000, okay, you spend that, and that's it, okay. But sometimes you can spend $50,000 that's creating more expenses down the road, that's what you gotta look at. We did this, but, yeah, we can do that, but that's gonna cost us this next year, that's the
This
whole
was
idea.
unprecedented because we've never received
No,
funds like this
I
before.
understand.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not
So,
questioning
yeah,
that,
no,
absolutely.
But I think that we have to be, and this is just my 2 cents again, is we have to, we kind of have some input, because if they spend the money in the wrong area, it's gonna cost us forever.
Well, that's.
If they do a salary or something like that, not a one-time purchase, like Wachusett Regional School District is doing, for example, we're gonna pay this year's cycle.
So we can definitely ask for that. I will definitely send a note up to ask for that. I know Mike Nicholson did give us some of the earlier ones, the very first submission. We did get something from Mike. I just couldn't put my hands on it right now, but I will
Okay.
ask for them. The American Rescue Funds Act, Ron and several department heads are on a committee, and they're gonna come to the select board to give some ideas as to where to spend some of that money. They've already said, I forget now because I don't have those notes with me. I think it's $24,000. How much was the broadband?
Oh no, the broadband was.
It's gonna save us $24,000
Yeah.
each year for 3 years, if that's what it was.
Yeah.
So the broadband's not gonna cost us anything, and for 3 years, they cover, but that's handled by the American Rescue Act. They're thinking about using some of the money, this has not been approved yet, spending some of the money for tourism.
50,000 is on the agenda for Monday for the nurse.
Yes, the nurse, for the COVID nurse, for the contact tracing. And I know they were meeting, and they were gonna be meeting with the selectmen to bring ideas to fruition for where they can spend it. But it's very limited, there's much fewer buckets, and they're much more narrow buckets as to where we can spend those American Rescue funds. So,
Most of that can't go to salaries, by the way. They can for certain like purposes like that, but that's gonna be during a certain
Yeah.
period. So it's not like it's gonna be further expenses down the road.
right. So,
Shouldn't be.
yeah, I get what you're saying though, because you could, they decide to lease a vehicle, and then we're stuck with those lease payments, all of that kind of stuff, so
Well, you
yes.
buy something for a computer, and then every year you've got some kind of
Right.
maintenance charge or
Yes.
upgrades to it or whatever, and it goes on and on and on.
Yep.
I would like to-
And I know this is our next, we're gonna discuss this in a minute, but under our current bylaw, this is what I was leading to when I was saying this before, it says, in the discharge of its duties, said committee shall have free access to all books of record and accounts, bills and vouchers in which money has been or may be paid from the town treasury.
That's correct.
Officers, boards, committee of the town shall, upon request, furnish said committee with facts, figures, any other information relating to its activities.
I will-
Which is, I
I
didn't
will-
see in the new stuff here, which,
I will send to Ron and to Seth and ask Ron, no, CC Ron, because Seth handled all of that as the emergency management person. That's who is responsible for the CARES Act funding. So. Yep.
I don't wanna be more negative than you tonight, but
I'm just trying to feed you guys all the information so that we know where we're at.
as probably one of the few people in this room that got COVID, I was one of 22 people in February and March that had COVID in the town of Rutland. I'd like to know what nurse we're gonna spend this money on.
This is,
Because I did more legwork than the nurse that was the town nurse at the time, contact tracing. So I'd like to understand, I was, and I mentioned it to you then, and I mentioned it to a few people then,
Yep.
that I don't know what, we didn't get a lot of bang for our buck for contact tracing. As a matter of fact, I had to make the phone calls, and I had to do all the work, and I never got a phone call from
okay.
anybody.
I
So
will-
I just wanna make sure, and there was only 22 of us.
Yeah, I'll send a note and ask, but that is on the agenda for Monday's select board meeting. I will be there.
I might be there too.
So,
So is that a full-time position that they're suggesting?
this will be a position that we will be able to fund through the American Rescue Funds Act, so that we can continue with, through,
Whatever the next phase is.
yeah, that's the best, I don't know what to say,
Whatever-
next outbreak,
wherever it's going.
I think that's what it was.
It seems like with that many cases, or as few cases as there has been, it seems like a lot of money to spend for contact tracing. It seems like we could partner with somebody else.
She doesn't work full-time for us.
No, she doesn't.
She works for other towns
2 or
as
3
well.
towns.
Yeah, it's
Hard
not
to get
just.
hold of, very nice when she did all the
Yeah,
legwork.
she works for 2 or 3, and I know in the past, she's been spoken very highly of.
Oh, she was very pleasant,
She's
just,
spoken very highly of. I can't tell you what the job is, all I know is that's, like you
What
said.
an internship for someone.
We pay students to do it.
Just a thought.
they even wanna do it, never mind, we'll figure it out.
No, they don't want to do it, but neither did the nurses, so.
Yeah, so we had to pick.
Well, we didn't have many, I mean, we gotta honestly you know, we had a lot of volunteers that came up to help with the vaccination clinic, and the nurses all came up, and, you know, there was tons of volunteers, so
Okay.
we were very lucky. But I can ask that as well.
In a polite kind of way.
I'm always polite when I ask the first time. After the first time, then it's not so polite. Okay, so are we ready to go over the,
Before we do that, should we reorganize the board?
we can do that, sure.
I think we should.
Would you be able to go through the process? How's that work?
Yes,
In a year?
we take nominations for chairman, vice chairman, and secretary. It has to be, a motion has to be made, a second has to be made, and then the person has to accept it.
Okay,
It's that easy.
so, through the chair,
Yep,
I'd like to make a motion that, that we nominate Karen Narwhal as chairperson of the Rutland, Massachusetts Finance Committee.
Second.
any discussion?
Yeah, the only thing I have, Karen, is that, and I wrote it down, so I'm just gonna read it. Karen has served our committee as acting chairperson, and in my opinion, performed admirably during a very difficult budget process. She'll review and participate in the Board of Selectmen meetings and works extensively behind the scenes for the people of Rutland. For all that she has done, I believe she's more than qualified and deserves our support as chairperson.
Thank you, Peter.
Wow, political speeches.
Thank you.
It was a beauty. Yeah, that was.
Wow. This is being recorded, right?
You can play that back whenever you want to.
I'll get you a copy.
I'm like, wow, I want that playing on
She's
loop.
gonna go home and staple to her husband's
I
forehead.
can send you the document if you like that.
Play when you wake up every morning. I can do this.
No, I just want to play it so Tim can hear and the people I work with.
It's all about the husband right now.
Okay, okay, any other discussion? Any other discussion? Okay. We have to take a roll call vote because Peter's on the Zoom, so we have to take roll call vote, say your last name and then yes or no, yay or nay, whatever you want to say.
Ross, aye.
Rushala, aye.
Moet, aye.
Winika, aye.
Pete?
Go ahead, Pete.
O'Malley, aye.
Okay.
Narwhal, aye.
Thank you.
Now we need to do a vice chair. Which is not that important usually.
Until
Until
last
someone
year.
doesn't show up for 5 meetings and then, oh no.
So does anybody want to be vice chair?
Yeah, Peter.
I mean, I can't see your hands, but if you feel like it, raise your hand.
Pete, you raising your hand?
No, I'm not.
I think Peter would be a good vice chairperson.
You sure, Pete? We need to have a vice chair, guys.
I nominate.
You promised me you're not gonna leave before the end of the year.
I'm not gonna, I signed on for 2 more years. So
Okay, so
I'm in for 2 more years.
I nominate Pete O'Malley.
Second.
Okay, so I have a motion and a second for Pete O'Malley for vice chair. Is that acceptable, Pete?
Yes.
Okay. Any discussion? Any discussion? Okay.
Roll call. Ross, aye.
Rushala, aye.
Moet, aye.
Winika, aye.
Narwhal, aye.
O'Malley, aye.
Now we need to.
Thanks, Pete.
And what does a secretary in our case really do? Because we have,
But Karen, if you're ever not gonna be in a meeting,
Yep,
we're gonna cancel the meeting.
okay. The secretary is there in case Tamika cannot be there.
okay,
So it's
a backup plan.
No, it's not a backup. Every committee's gotta have
Yeah.
a chairman, a vice
Okay,
chairman,
all right.
and
Yeah.
a
We're-
clerk or a
yeah,
secretary.
sec-
Clerk
yeah.
really
Okay,
is
okay.
Yeah,
what it
so
is.
we're required to have 3
Right.
officers, whatever you wanna call
Well,
them.
you'd have a clerk, because you're supposed to record the meetings, but in this case, we,
But
have
the
a
clerk,
person we pay to
the
do
clerk
it.
has to be a member of the committee.
correct.
So,
Now,
anybody wanna sign? Huh?
just a question.
Yep,
There was a discussion at one of the budget meetings that maybe Tamika would be off doing other things, which we were very adamant against. Can we be assured that somebody's not just gonna go ahead, someone is, someone won't go ahead and reassign Tamika's resources?
no, we pay her. We pay her. We got her. She doesn't do this out of the good, she does it out of the goodness of her heart, but she also does it for a paycheck. And so we sign off on that paycheck, so she's gonna be here.
Okay, good.
You didn't miss any meetings last year. Dave was our secretary last year. She didn't miss any meetings. It's not a big deal. And about the only one that you do have to take minutes on is before the town meetings. We usually have a 5 or 10 minute meeting, and you jot down 2 things, you send it over to Tamika, and she types it up. Okay, I nominate Darren Ross to be secretary.
Second,
Second,
third.
Any discussion? Any discussion? Okay, roll call vote. Lynn.
Winika, aye.
Vote aye.
Rochelle, aye.
Pete?
O'Malley, aye.
Narwhal, aye.
And Ross, aye.
Okay, we're good.
Thank you, Darren.
Yep, so I think and I think that's a good place for us to launch off into our discussion, that's all I wanted to be.
Nope, that's fine.
That's all that was about,
I've
Ken, I
lost-
wasn't trying to upstage you.
Nope. I
Okay.
just, this is, so, has everyone had a chance to read these?
No, this is, we're going into the,
These being the bylaws.
oh,
Yeah,
yeah.
so if you're asking for any comments,
I
yes,
am.
the only thing that I saw, and I think it needs to be more detailed than it is. Yeah, I think we should be more specific. I know what the bylaw committee was trying to do, just make everything relatively simple, straightforward. But I think that we get into a lot of discussions like we had just a little while ago about what we should be doing. Should we see this? Should we be doing a recommendation of grant money to be spent like we do the budget? Should the finance committee take a vote to say we recommend or we don't recommend? We don't recommend expenditure on those articles, on those grants. I guess the one specific thing that I would like to see in that document, and I'm scared to lose my voice, so bear with me.
Okay.
The one thing I'd like to be able to see is that the budget that is presented is a balanced budget. That the town administrator and his staff, the people, the department heads, have had the opportunity that they looked at what the revenues are. They have a forecast for revenues, and they look at their spending, their planned spending, and that they make the adjustments that they need to make to get it into balance before it's presented to them, to the finance committee. And then the finance committee would go through and look at the information, and then we would meet with each one of the department heads to make sure that we understand how they would accommodate that budget. That's the one specific thing that I thought we needed in there.
That is under the town administrator's job, the bylaw for the town administrator. It states there.
Well, not necessarily that. It's under the section where it gives the rules of the. I don't have it in front trying to get to it, but, it's under the section of what the responsibilities are for the finance committee. That's where I would suggest that language might be.
Okay.
Does it make any sense at all?
Yes, it does. I actually spent way too much time reading through the Finance Committee handbook, and the Finance Committee handbook clearly states that it is the job of the town manager / administrator / executive secretary or part of the executive branch of government. It is their job to collect budget information, develop budget priorities, and formulate a balanced budget. Once developed,
That's where I got it from.
yep, once developed, the budget is presented to the Finance Committee. We then meet with all the departments and we do all the things that we do. But you are correct, Pete. We went through a very large exercise last year that really we shouldn't have had to have gone through.
No,
In,
I agree.
in being on the committee and being very active in this process, I thought we were left to hang out there a couple times, and we were actually used as not a pawn, but we were used as a stick to threaten or to do things with departments in town. And I'm whatever we have to do to eliminate that again, I'm in favor of, because what would happen, Lynn, is we would go in, Alex, we would be in a meeting and we would hear from department heads that they were in a meeting and the finance committee expects you guys to cut X from the thing. We didn't even get a chance to do that. We were used several times as a device to threaten or manipulate the budgets from the departments, and I don't think it was fair. And we actually had people call us out and, be upset with us, and we were like behind, and it was always the finance committee's fault. Well, it wasn't our fault, that's not our job. So, as we, through the end of the process, through a little bit of hard love, we had trained everybody to understand the process a little bit better, and it got better, but there were still certain times that if the moment was right, we were thrown under the bus. And then the bus backed up over us. And it was unfortunate, and we did very well defending ourselves. But it was an uncomfortable few months, and then there was iterations from this one to that one, and we had to go back and visit, and it was like, and not that we didn't have the intelligence or the wherewithal to do it, but we were deciding things that we shouldn't have had to decide. Not specifically, I'm gonna get rid of that phone, but we're gonna get rid of $3,500 and you take it out of wherever you, and they actually at one time wanted us to say, get rid of that phone. And we said, no, we're gonna tell you a percentage. We don't really care where you need to be or where you're gonna take it from, but you have to come down by 3%. And unfortunately, it was very stressful, and it was more than it needed to be put on our table. And for you guys that are new to it, and Karen, speak up if I'm going the wrong way here, it was more than it needed to be put on us, and we were like the scapegoats. And when you read the recommendations from the notes and the laws and stuff, that's what I don't care what we do, we have to go into it a little differently, because unless Karen has a crystal ball or somebody knows something more, I don't think this year is gonna be a whole lot more fun than last year. It's probably gonna be, if not the same level of pain or a little bit more. So I just wanna go into it so that we're not the damn finance committee again, because it's not the damn finance committee's fault. We're doing what we can, and we're telling you where we can get the money, but you guys in the executive branch are supposed to come to us and let us know. with the checks and balances.
Yeah, that's what I
And,
think.
and we weren't there last year.
We never received a balanced budget from the town administrator. We balanced the budget last year.
Painfully,
That
like
was-
3
it was-
times.
Yeah. It was, I think the worst 2 meetings are when we were going through everyone's salaries and cutting people's salaries. I think that was by far the worst. And yeah, nobody wants to revisit that. Nobody wants to have to go through it, but when you work all day and then volunteer at this at night to sit there for 3 hours, it wasn't
And
fun.
then it was very
So
tense.
Karen,
Yep.
I agree totally with that. But I don't think, we were working so hard to manipulate numbers and get to the point where we had a budget. We didn't really do the best job that we could have in understanding where the spending was going to be. After we gave it back, it was just a matter of you have to go ahead and do it. I would expect that it'd be our job to be able to take the budget that's now balanced to what they forecast as revenue, and then ask each department how they're going to achieve that budget. They would have already done the work to say, I'm going to change my organizational structure to be able to do it in this fashion. I'm not going to sign this contract or whatever. They would have already done that when it comes in. It'd be our job, really, just to validate the process or the choices that they made to be able to get to that point. We should be asking the question of, if you have to cut 6 people, is that something you really have to do? Or is there another way to be able to do it? Challenge the decisions that are being made and make sure that it's right. If we agree with them, we just go forward with it.
That is correct. We would still meet with every single department and have hearings where the department heads can come in and they can come and tell us, and it is our it is our primary job to bring a balanced budget to the town meeting. It is the finance committee's job to bring the balanced budget to the town meeting. I'll say it one more time. It's the finance committee's job to bring the balanced budget to the town floor at the annual town meeting. No one else's.
But Karen, it doesn't mean that we have to balance it.
I agree, but we're the ones that have to be up there bringing the warrants and answering questions and being prepared like we were this year. We spent a lot of time making sure we had answers for those questions when we went through this year.
Right, and I'm not disagreeing with that at all, but I just don't believe that the budget should be balanced before we see it. It's our job to bring it forward.
That's correct.
We present, agree or disagree, recommend, don't recommend.
Right.
But I don't think that if our job is going to be to sit down and slice and dice this whole thing to the point where, as Darren was saying, this is a very painful process. We get very tired. Did we do our best job doing that? I don't know. I'm not going to answer that. I have no clue. I think we did, but I think we did a very good job. I appreciate the recognitions that we get from folks. But I really think that we could be a little bit more proactive in dealing with the results of whatever the budget is that's being presented based upon revenues and what's coming in. And we should be challenging the departments as to how they intend to be able to achieve that.
Okay. So, does anyone have anything else before I start going through my umpteen million things that I caught in all of these?
Then this is on the
Karen, the only
bylaw
other thing
things?
Yep,
I bring up,
yep.
I hate to jump in here, but in the previous version of the bylaws,
Yep.
the finance committee bylaws, under the section of duties, pretty much it's got a semblance of what we're talking about. And really, from what I'm seeing in the proposal, it's more or less, they shall discuss and report.
Right,
Report recommendation, report experience.
Yes.
I don't see the level of specificity, excuse me, the level of specificity that was in the previous version. And I just think that we need, that the duty section should be bolstered, more specific. And now, honestly,
okay. Does anybody have anything else?
Nope.
It's very generic, the new one.
Okay, so, Article 1, General Provisions. We'll start right there. General Provisions say, committee appointments and terms. Members shall be appointed by the Select Board. We are not appointed by the Select Board. We are appointed by the Town Moderator. We are only ratified by the Board of Selectmen. So that needs to change because we are not appointed by the Select Board. Committee member removal under Section 5 of General Provisions. Any committee member may be removed for cause by a majority vote of the appointing authority. The appointing authority that leaves with what goes underneath sounds to me like it's a select board. The moderator is our appointing authority. So it kind of contradicts what happens.
Well, I think it's pretty spelled out right now. It should say what it says now. If you're not there for 5 meetings, because Randy doesn't even know where we are.
No, that, we're not even 2 hours yet. Don't worry, that's in hours. I'm on general provisions.
Okay, I got you.
I'm in general provisions.
I got
So
you.
yeah, we're not even there yet. Yeah,
Okay.
I started from scratch and read through the whole thing and several times. So,
You're right here.
Oh,
That's the one we got up at the top right.
and then it was, I do agree that the town administrator, it should state in there that he has to bring to us a balanced budget for us to review and confer on. I don't believe that is. It says here, it shall consult with finance and capital improvement planning committees when forming the upcoming year's budgets.
what number are you on, by the way?
I am on town administrator,
Page 17.
paragraph E18,
18.
E1A.
18.
That's why I stapled them, because I was doing that and I was like, I gotta staple them. Yeah, well, I had to, because I was reading it and writing notes and I was like, I can't do
Page
this on my
6, I
computer.
jumped to 12. We don't have page 7. Well, the
17.
numbers down the bottom are different than what the pages actually are. I know a lot of pages jumped. Okay, I'm sorry.
Okay, so the town administrator shall consult with the finance and capital improvement, CIPC, when forming the upcoming year's budget.
So it's just page 18 on the bottom.
So
18, yeah, okay, that's,
he needs to create, it says he'll
Yeah.
create the operating budget and capital budgets, but I think it needs to say balanced budgets. Because otherwise, we run the potential of getting what we got this year.
And we're gonna get, between the 5 or 6 of us right here, right tonight, we're gonna get that again this year because these are not gonna change before this year.
What does his contract say he has?
I'll have to send it to you, I don't know.
I'd be willing to
what
bet
it
it's the
says.
same as
I would
whatever was
think
in it
so.
previously, so I'm guessing it says
I
this.
don't know, no, we didn't have a town administrator bylaw, I don't think.
I'm saying the contract probably says similar to what
Yeah.
this is saying though.
Yeah.
I'd
So-
guess.
so
'Cause
I'd
they
be-
probably took this.
I
out
don't
of the
remember,
contract.
because we asked to review that last year, but we were looking at it for something else, so we weren't really looking to
But
do.
most of this probably came out of the contract, I would.
So-
I think we have to have the discussion with the selectmen, who are his boss, that we should get a on a different note, we should get a balanced budget and or hammer that home.
Especially if his contract states he's required to give us a
Okay,
balanced
but the
budget.
bylaw, if it says the town administrator shall create the town's balanced annual operating and capital budget, then therefore that's another place to put it.
Now,
It's there,
Which letter you on again?
E1.
E1, okay.
Yep.
But I don't think that's gonna help us this year.
Under duty
That being said, there's
responsibilities.
that potential, I agree with you. And don't call me that, I'm Karen.
No, but I don't think, I agree 100% with your statement, but unless we let people know, it's not gonna change this year.
But on that sentence that you just said, if I could,
Yep.
then I agree with what you just said, and then it should say your words, and then it should say to be presented to the selectmen and the finance committee.
It doesn't even have to be to the selectmen, to be honest with you.
No, I understand that, but they should see it,
They-
obviously, because they're the
Governing body.
the governing, the overall authority.
You
but-
are correct, you are correct.
And obviously, it's understood in this thing, but it should, if you're gonna say that, then, I mean, I read these things and looked through them, and it obviously, it appears to me that they're trying to do the town charter through this change of all these bylaws, so.
I mean, I think the way you worded it was appropriate.
Yep.
So, I mean, and I will definitely, so the town administrator shall recommend compensation for all town officers, employees in accordance with applicable policies, contracts, or collective bargaining agreements. I would say that also has to be, and that has to be part of the budget to us, because we have to see that as well, because that's something that wasn't clearly written to us this year when we did things, and we want to make sure that there's more clarity for next year. And then, yes, I agree, we have to have more specificity in our bylaw, and under duties, it says, the committee shall discuss and report its recommendations on the town's budget to the chief financial officer. He can be part of the discussion, but it's not our job to report to him. We report to the town. It's our job, we work, he's part of the discussions that we have, but we don't report to him. We report to the townsfolk at the annual town meeting. That's our job.
Or any time in between, right?
Do we know
Right.
who wrote these?
Yes, the bylaw subcommittee, whose head is Peter Crane.
So, Karen, the only question I have there is I just don't like the fact that the person or the position is not being named correctly. It's not the chief financial officer. He functions as that, but he's not that. It's the town administrator.
And I mean, he's being named as a chief financial officer up above, so I think
Yeah.
it's pretty.
It's in his bylaw that he is the town's chief financial officer.
Yeah.
So,
It doesn't say acting is?
Yeah.
yeah, so I mean, I can see both ways. It does kind of make sense. I get it.
I think in order for, if you were to ever hire a chief financial officer, they would then be in that position and he would no longer be there. So it's just removing that rewriting of the bylaws
Right.
if you were to hire that position.
So, you know, when we dig up that box of gold somewhere, then we can hire an accountant full-time in town, then that would be the chief financial officer.
Yeah, but at that point, if that person is hired as the chief financial officer, is it still the town administrator who the department has report to?
Yes.
Isn't it still be that person?
No.
I think it's just, the position isn't really chief financial officer. If we hire somebody like that, or we want to say it's the controller, that's fine. But there should be a position there. Otherwise, there's always going to be I don't know, he's maybe, might be, could be. I don't know. My preference would be in anything that's going to be cast on the tablet and put up on the altar, that it be specific. My preference, that's what.
Yeah, I think this is pretty clear.
Yeah, that's great.
I mean, I don't think,
It does, somewhere in his bylaw, it states that he is chief.
It
Yeah, the
does.
town administrator shall be chief financial officer of the town.
yeah.
So therefore, by putting chief financial officer, yes, you have to read 6 different bylaws to get there, but yeah,
Okay, Alright.
that's how they like to write these, so that you can spend time reading 152 pages to get 2 words right.
obviously I missed that, because I just, the thought that the section I thought I saw said he was acting as.
Yeah.
Yes, okay.
So so I think we should write more specific duties under section 4. And I didn't have a chance to transcribe some of the things that are in the finance committee handbook. So we could do that. But I did notice under member removal, members may be removed for cause. The select board shall have the responsibilities ascribed to the appointing authority in the removal proceedings. So the town moderator shall be invited to any hearing and shall be allowed to participate in any removal discussions. But the moderator does not take part in the removal vote. If he's the appointing authority for us, why wouldn't he have a vote?
Because it's past tense then.
But they're gonna, when they remove people out of what they approve, they all vote. When they appoint to Conservation Commission, I believe is appointed, if they have to remove somebody, they all vote. So why wouldn't the moderator get a vote? He's the appointing authority for us.
Okay,
Because if they're able to all vote on something they appoint, why wouldn't the town moderator be able to vote to remove one of us? And it does state in there, in the bylaw, it still does state that you cannot miss more than 5 consecutive committee meetings, except in the case of illness. And then, I believe they've changed it. It says an upon vote.
Yeah, there's some changes in there about that.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's an upon vote. So we have to vote to
But the
remove
thing,
him.
the thing that I noticed here too is the finance board is supposed to be like a separate entity that's away from the other town boards and stuff to review this stuff. And what's proposed here is trying to tie us back into the selectmen overseeing us, as you just said, the town administrator also. The whole idea of, and this isn't just around, it's everywhere, the moderator is because it's a separate entity, so the moderator is the one that should be listed here as the appointing authority. I'm not sure of the wording here, I just know that there's an awful, to me, what's in our current town bylaw, and it's been there for a long time, the bulk of the duties and these responsibilities.
Yep.
And you can look at it 2 different ways, I mean, people do, I mean.
Yep.
If it ain't broke, don't fix it, and other people say, well, it's not broken, let's fix it anyways. I think what's there is pretty descriptive and pretty, in-depth for what the finance committee needs to do, where here, it's taken most of that out, it's gone.
We are I believe we're the only committee that if you are seated on the finance committee, you cannot sit on any other committee.
Well, you're not
within town.
supposed to, you're not supposed to have any other connection from a
Right,
town.
we're not allowed to sit on
And that
anything
does, it
else.
does say that in here.
Right, so we are separate and apart because
Correct.
you can sit on 12 if you are part of anything else. We're only allowed to sit on 1
Correct.
because we're supposed to stay impartial. So, they will be bringing these bylaws to the selectmen's meeting on Monday.
Where does it say that we can't be in any other part? It just says no town official or employee should be eligible to serve on the committee.
I'm not sure if it's in here, but
Which probably should be in here. if
it's
not,
here
that's-
somewhere.
it's here somewhere because we cannot sit on anything else.
Yeah, you're right, it doesn't say that, but if you're,
Because
even if you're appointed to a committee or a group, you're considered an employee, that's not even though it's a volunteer thing, you're still considered an employee legally.
Everyone's an employee. Everyone is a volunteer this year.
I think
Well,
we
no,
did.
I'm just saying, if you
Yeah, no,
ask the
no,
lawyer
yep,
that question, that's what
yep,
they're gonna tell you.
Yep. But we are not, like, you cannot run for, you can't be on Conservation Commission, you can't be on RDIC, you can't be on any of those.
I
businesses.
guess my point is it should probably be explicitly stated that.
Yes, I agree.
And I don't think
And I
that's.
think the old one says that
It
somewhere
does,
in
no
there.
elected or appointed town officer or town employee shall be eligible to serve on said committee.
Right, but that's different, but
That's-
we're not elected, we're appointed.
It says appointed.
Okay.
No elected or
So, there we
appointed.
go. So, I
It kinda
think,
come at it from the other way, but that's what it means.
yeah,
Yeah.
but yeah, so
That's
I-
number B.
it's always been one of the things that we can't do.
Yeah, so
Well,
instead
maybe
of,
that's something we should look at to
Right.
expand that wording a little
So-
bit,
so
so
it
it's
says
understood.
elected or appointed town officer on the old one, and now it's
Right.
just saying no town official.
Right, so
Which-
we'll need to ask more questions. This was just the first discussion. If we're amenable, I can reach out to Peter and we can ask him to come to discuss them with us. I wanted us to have the discussion first.
Who actually writes, who's writing these to?
The bylaw subcommittee, which is
Peter,
headed by Peter Crane.
Anita.
And there's a bunch of other people, I just don't remember.
Norm Anderson.
Norm
Norm
Anderson.
Anderson, yeah. Lynn Turcott, is she on that one?
I don't know.
Yeah, so.
The interesting
They
thing is.
meet at 1 o'clock in the afternoon, so, it's very difficult to try to get there.
And the interesting thing was, during this whole COVID discussion, let me say that, in the COVID year that we just went through, there was a selectmen's meeting that we were invited to, and they were discussing bylaw changes. And we were just sitting in on the side and just listening along, and they came to the finance committee, and immediately, their chairman spoke up, the bylaw subcommittee chairman spoke up and said, "We have tried to reach out to them several times, and they have no input on this." Which, all during the times that we tried to have input, we were not denied, but it was very difficult. Not any of us could meet at a 1 o'clock meeting time, and they weren't very amenable to it. So, in my charming way, I spoke up and broke into the meeting and said, "That is an absolute untruth, bold-faced lie. We have never been given an opportunity to
The last time
debate this, discuss it in a group."
the last time this was given to the finance chair was
Over a year ago.
late in December of last year, right before we were starting the budget process. At that point, we're meeting twice a week
And
for
we
3 to
heard
4
about it
hours
for
a
a little
night.
bit.
We can't be doing that.
On the
so-
budget, right.
Right, that's what our job is, so
Correct.
it
And we
has to
tossed
be-
it around a couple times, we said, "There's problems here," but we were never given an opportunity to meet with them.
Right.
So when we did, the train was going like this, Darren and Karen derailed it off the tracks, and that's where we're back to this, because and it was actually said in the meeting that if it came forward in a group, if he ever expected to come to a town meeting, it would be shot down, and I would be the guy leading the charge against it,
Yeah.
if it ever happened. So we backed off and we're back to here. So it's a good thing, just so you know the back channel,
Right.
you guys know the backstory, that they were gonna ram this through without our even input.
Yeah, but these two pieces of paper right here, and I'm surprised I don't have a date on it, I usually date everything, but, we did have a discussion one evening with them, probably over a year ago, and
Oh.
we said we are not in agreement with what the
It was
proposals were.
easily a year
Because
and a
it
half
leaves
ago.
out way too much of what we had there,
Right.
and we
But he
told them
didn't-
we thought it was off base completely.
Right.
So we
when
did have that
we
discussion,
had
but that was it, I mean, that was.
a discussion, but then they went to the select board meeting when they were all
Correct.
talking about
Correct.
these, and like,
Right.
I'm like, wait,
Correct.
time out. So,
That was back when we were still meeting in person in
Yes.
the library.
Yes.
yes,
Remember that?
Yes.
way back.
Way
Yep.
back, it was
Pre-COVID.
easily a year and a half ago.
Yep.
So, they are bringing this to the select board meeting on Monday. I believe the thought process is to try to bring some of these to the special town meeting. I could be wrong. I will be there on Monday. is everyone amenable that I bring up some of the discussion points that we have if asked?
And if anybody else here would like to go,
Yeah, we're all
certainly go.
invited. I just know I'm going because I
Right.
got nothing better to do.
No, but I mean, I think we gotta just put our input in, and then and they've been fairly responsive when you speak up.
So,
But if it's perceived that you don't care, they do what they want. How's that to say? Is that the best way to put it?
that's a very good way to put it. So, I will reach out to the selectmen to find out when they're available to meet to go over the expense budget for the 2 months. I will send it out to you guys so that you guys can look at it ahead of time. I will reach out to see when Peter and his group can meet with us. Today, I received an email about remote, what do they call it, remote participation.
Are we going back to that again?
No,
Allow Zoom attendance at meeting.
no, this is a new policy that is going out. Sorry.
From,
Please see the attached proposed updated remote participation policy that I am bringing forward to the Board of Selectmen for consideration. This policy is designed to both meet the needs of the new world, so it's all this. Mainly what it says is, you can read the attachment, I did send it to you. It says that there are 4 committees in town that are going to be required to always have a Zoom link in their meetings. It is fine if we are able to have additional help, such as Tamika, who can watch it, but you guys saw us struggling last year when I was trying to do it, run the meetings, watch to see who had questions and whatnot. It's not always feasible.
Does it say which committees?
Yes.
we're one of them.
We are.
Yes, it's planning board, he wrote commission, but it's planning board, finance committee, conservation commission, and board of selectmen.
Because they figure those are the controversial ones, is that why it's?
I believe he wrote it, and I don't have it easily.
He meaning the town administrator?
Ron said that it's because they're the ones that are most influential, I think is what he said, or something like that. But
Well, that could be, but then your point is exactly correct, that then we definitely gonna need somebody to not only record the meeting, but to facilitate
Right.
that, what's going on, so you can be, if
That's it.
you gotta be the person doing all the work, you can't participate in the meeting as a member.
And remember last year when I was trying to do the budget
Right.
on the computer, and I'm trying to look over at Zoom to see who's answering, raising their hands, and I'm like, okay, I don't want to do 3 screens.
So our meetings, if we go to a lockdown stage again, then I think this is maybe become appropriate. Right now, our meetings are not closed, and people can come to our meetings.
They always are.
No, but when we were on, remember we
But that policy would state, regardless, we would have to have a Zoom link.
Right.
I had made a promise, and we had the discussion, that we would have Zoom links when we were discussing things for the special town meeting and for the budget, because that's important stuff for people to see. But the in-between, shorter, smaller, or less, we wouldn't do Zoom, because that would allow us to concentrate and be able to do it without having to, this time it's Pete, but there were times when we'd have, 3, 4 people.
So if he's so interested in doing this,
So just because the link is there, doesn't mean we have to use it, right?
No, it requires us to have it. That would mean that we would have to log in to the Zoom meeting and have it available. And I'm not saying that we want to shut the public out. That's not what I'm saying. it requires us to have the staff to do it. I know Tamika does it for the select board. I know Tamika did it tonight for us. Tonight it was easy, it was Pete. But when we've got budget meetings going on, and it can be tough to try to do all of those pieces, so I just.
Well, if he wants to supply the manpower to do it, then.
Well, the other concern comes in where our Chromebooks are less than stellar for a Zoom. So
It was difficult.
their microphones are lousy, you really can't hear them. So it does require, it's not a big deal, I bring my laptop, it's not a big deal, but
I have 2 laptops on me at any given time, so
well,
I think
it's
we
a-
can manage.
we can't, as long as, but the problem is going to become, that there are 4 committees that are on this. I think that there are more that should be on that personally, because we should be able to access them.
If they're gonna do one, they should do them all. Yes.
Right, because I'm looking at it from the standpoint of, the RDIC, the HPDD, all of those kinds of things. There's a lot going on that that the public may want to be involved in. And it's not just those 4. As we can see, even before pre-COVID, a big night would be 4 guests at a finance committee meeting, if that?
If that.
So,
That was a big night.
that was our big night.
They weren't usually random people in public. It was usually people.
Yeah, it was people that was, yeah, exactly. So, I'm not shutting out, I'm just trying to bring it up. I can't, because I know,
I think we're making a town position too, because if you look at the last line, the town administrator shall appoint a meeting coordinator to ensure that all bodies must or wish to allow public participation.
that person would be who makes sure that we have enough Zoom links for
Well,
that,
yeah,
which I
but-
think was Beth during
Yeah, but,
COVID. Beth and you?
So-
Yeah,
Peter
'cause-
Crane's involved in this somehow.
but,
He must be gonna be the guy.
We'll have to look at the budget when we. try to
it's
add on
more
people.
of, because we had to make sure that we had enough, because remember there was that one meeting during the budget where we got booted off because of the 300th committee? Yeah, and that's the reason why we have our own Zoom.
Right. But I'm not, yeah.
So, I just wanted to bring it up, that's why I sent it to you. I will send all the rest of the stuff. I get sent random things all the time. I will be sure, as I get told things, I get pulled aside. I'll make sure I pass them along.
Well, I think we should ask some questions about this.
Yep.
This is a proposed policy, right?
It is.
This is the one we just got this afternoon at 4:45.
Yes, I got it a little bit earlier.
No, I understand that, I'm just saying,
Well, it started Tuesday at 6 PM.
well, I didn't see it
From
until
Peter
this
Crane.
afternoon, and I certainly didn't have time to look at it at all today before we
Peter
had our
Crane.
meeting.
Right, no, and I admit that. And it didn't make it onto the agenda officially because I just got it. But I wanted to make sure, because when I read it, I was like, okay, but when I'm in the office, I'm really not supposed to be forwarding stuff. So. It's my year end, so I'm trying to get my work done.
Ask him if he's gonna, or I'll ask him, town administrator, if he's actually gonna attend one of our meetings in person.
He might.
I will be in touch. We will try to see what we can do for
Because this
meeting with the
is
selectmen.
all this is gonna do is just allow him to continue the practice that he's been doing the last couple of years. We watch him eat, we watch him playing with the dog, we watch him drink. That's not what I'm here for. He can come to my meeting and be respectful of the same time that we have to give. I would like to eat dinner. I would like to have a beer. I'd like to play with my dog. I would like to yell at the kids in the other room. And I can't because I have to be here.
Right.
So he's treading lightly on this, and he may resent the fact that he did this, because I will go to the selectmen's meeting and say, are you kidding me?
So,
And there are people, yeah, okay.
so,
I'm just gonna stop.
Peter, I want you to know that this is not directed at you. I need you to make sure that you understand this is not directed at you. We have a,
Personally,
no, not at all. We have the Zoom link set up for Peter because of his health. That we
That's
all-
right,
okay?
we understand that.
And that we, as a board, have to have a quorum in person. That is a requirement. So we just all have to be aware of the fact that we all can't sit around in our pajamas at home. We do have to show up as a quorum here, so, or wherever we're meeting. Otherwise, we have to cancel the meeting. We have to have a quorum in person until there's another change.
Jim, just on a side note.
Yep.
And again, for me personally, do you have an idea when the next meeting might be?
No idea.
Okay.
I didn't see anything in the bylaw that you can't have
Four
it
weeks
now.
of treatment.
Yeah,
Yeah,
can't-
like
Well,
it's
it's
got-
public building.
It's a public building.
I have
So
that.
If I'm at my house, I can.
I can, Pete, I'm gonna get in touch with Lyndon and see when
He's pretty
they
funny,
think
though.
that they can have, the meetings to go over the expense budget. And then, try to see, I'll send a note out to Peter Crane to see when we can meet to go over that.
Okay,
And unfortunately, then we're gonna be heading hot and heavy into, town meeting warrant articles, so.
so like I said, 2 more weeks and I'm good.
Okay, great. So you'll do a couple more of these then?
Okay,
Jeepers, I got a lot of dust on that.
No, we're good. I make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
We have to take a roll call vote. Pete?
O'Malley, aye.
Ross, aye.
Rushala, aye.
Oh, and I.
Winika, aye.
Narwhal, aye. We're adjourned at 7:27.
Aye.